In Maine, some 60,000 people in a small state would be thrown off the health care they have as a result of these massive cuts to Medicaid. In New Hampshire, 46,000 people will lose their health insurance. And in my state of Vermont, some 45,000 people will be thrown off the health care that they have. And by the way, when we talk about throwing 15 million people off of Medicaid, when we talk about doubling premiums for over 20 million, what is the reason that this is happening? Who invented this idea? Who said, you know what? Who woke up one day and said, you know what, it's a great idea that in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, let's throw 15 million people off of health care, double premiums for millions more. Why did they do that? And the answer is in order to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. So,
hey there, Patriots. This is True Outlaw Patriot coming at you with another one. What you heard there was the old communist Bernie Sanders trying to point fingers at what's going on, okay, with the government shutdown that was going on, I should say. Now the government's back open, but here he is trying to make it seem as if the moves that President Trump wants to do is going to basically destroy 20 million people's lives. At first it was 42 million. Now he's saying it's 20 million. Okay. But what he's not saying is the basically the information that the government found out, Donald Trump's cabinet found out, the people he put in charge of who exactly is getting healthcare benefits and SNAP food stamp benefits. And the only reason why that was able to be found out was because they shut the government down. And they were able to say, you know what, okay, fine. This is how we're going to approach it. Now we want all the records of everyone who is getting healthcare, who is getting SNAP benefits and so on. And we're going to see how many Americans are truly on it and how many illegal immigrants are on it. And this is a big problem. So Bernie Sanders had to go back on November 8th and just get in front of Congress and just waste his breath, okay? But new information has come out where as much as, I believe they said over 150,000 dead people, benefits have been going to them. And check this out. That includes children who have passed away, that food stamp benefits have been going out to them under their name. There's a lot to talk about, people. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk about the whole healthcare thing and the food stamp SNAP benefits thing as soon as we get back. Here we go.
We know this is a Democratic shutdown is because of how angry they are that we're about to reopen the government, period. That's all you need to know. In 2023, Jerry Nadler said shutdown is really an extremist policy designed to appeal to an extremist base and hold the whole country hostage. That is exactly what the Democrats have done over the last 43 days. They have held the American people hostage, trying to extract insane things like free health care for illegal immigrants. If they were serious about tackling the health care affordability crisis in this country, then they would address the fundamental problem with Obamacare. Since Obamacare took effect, health care premiums have risen by 96%. And on the open market by 114%. When I asked Leader Jeffries to sign on to the 1-year extension of the premium tax credit, he refused. He stuttered, he stammered, he couldn't answer a single question. Because this shutdown was never about health care. It was always about appeasing a far-left radical base. Chuck Schumer said, every day gets better for us. Catherine Clark said, of course people will suffer. We want to use this as leverage. It is an embarrassment to this country. You should all be ashamed of yourselves for inflicting this pain on the American people.
Okay, Patriots, I'm going to play this video clip. You already heard what Bernie Sanders had to say, okay? Basically, Bernie Sanders was just blowing a lot of wind, okay? Trying to make it seem like, you know what? The moves that President Trump wants to make is going to hurt so many people. But what he didn't say, And what the media, what the leftist media right now, and the mainstream media and all these leftist content creators are not saying, is that President Trump wants to give people money so they can pay for their own health insurance, instead of the government paying all these health insurance companies hundreds of billions of dollars, and then they decide who they pick and choose, okay, who gets the money. Meanwhile, tons and tons of that money, basically, for lack of a better term, winds up getting laundered, because it starts paying for benefits, number one, for illegals that don't deserve it, okay? Number two, the money starts disappearing, going into like private programs and stuff like that, and nobody can place their hands on it. So President Trump is like, you know what? For that matter, I'd rather just give every American money every month so they can pick and choose and go and pay for their own healthcare plans. Which to me, okay, sounds like a great idea, because if you're working, okay, when I work, let's just put it this way, when I worked in a hospital in the Bronx, and we had good medical coverage, but they also gave us the option to either add more money out of our paychecks to that medical coverage, or go and get a second medical coverage. They gave us the option. They said, we can pay for it, or you tell it, we're going to pay this much. If you want us to take out more out of your paycheck so you get better medical coverage, we'll do that. But now here's the thing with that the hospital that I worked in was also getting millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in subsidies, because a lot of hospitals they need the financial help from the state in order to keep functioning. Especially where I worked, it was a trauma center. Okay, so it's like, if you're giving me the option to say, okay, we're taking out $100 out of your check, and you're going to get Plan A, okay, and that covers X-rays and dental and eyeglasses, or you can go and say take out 130, and then you wind up getting Plan B, which covers X-rays, root canals, glasses, and eye care. It adds more to your healthcare plan. So a lot of times that's what we would do. On top of that, a lot of us would also opt in to also pay for AFLAC. So that was an extra medical health insurance coverage that we were paying for. And the more people they did it in the hospital, the cheaper it got. If it was 100 people in the hospital that did it, let's just say it was $100. If it was 500 people in the hospital that wanted to sign up, that $500 went down. $100 went down to like $30. So the more people that signed up for it, the cheaper it got. So when President Trump is coming out and saying, you know what, instead of us just sending out all this money to these health insurance companies, and people get the minimal health coverage, we'd rather just send out checks of $100, $300, whatever the case is, every month to every American that deserves it, and they can go and shop for whatever medical coverage they want. The most I've ever heard anybody pay for, and I'm sure there's probably a lot more, but the most I ever heard anybody pay for, which was my brother, but it was for him, his wife, and his 2 kids from his company, and they were taken out of his paycheck. I think it was every month. It was about $1,800. Okay, and he had really good medical coverage, but it wasn't Cadillac. And if anybody knows what health insurance coverage is when it comes to Cadillac, I mean, that's like top of the line. You don't have to worry about anything. But if the companies are paying that, and then basically they're asking for help, if I got this right, from the federal government, and the government is saying, well, wait a minute, we're going to have to send these insurance companies more money so like that they can wind up covering the cost of Medicaid for all the illegals that go into the emergency room. They don't deserve it. So why should we do that? Why don't we just take that money and give it to the American citizens so like that they can go through their jobs or even on their own and pay for their own medical coverage, and let that medical coverage just build up? From everything that I'm hearing, that's what it sounds like, and to me that sounds like a good idea. The downfall to that, a lot of people say, well, what if you send people that money and they don't go and get good medical coverage? They wind up getting a plan for $100 and they pocket the other $200. In my opinion, I say to that, that's their problem. They can't complain. If that's what they're going to do, they can't complain. You send me a check for $300 and tell me I have to pay for my own medical coverage, I'm going to take that whole $300 and go look for the best medical coverage I can get and pay for it. As a matter of fact, even I'll probably even try to find a way to have it sent to the bank and have the insurance company pull it right from the bank every month. At least I know that money is right there coming into my account and going right back out. So there's a lot of ways to look at this, but leave it up to the Democrats to keep pushing this fear-mongering and trying to make it seem like, oh, what President Trump wants to do is going to destroy lives of Americans. But if I'm going to break down the numbers to you, if you look at how many Americans as opposed to how many illegals, okay, are collecting benefits, you'll see that, you know what, if we get rid of the benefits for the illegals, we'll have double, 3, 4 times more money in the coffers that will benefit Americans. But that's not what the Democrats want. Bernie Sanders says he wants universal health care for all, meaning anyone and everyone that comes into this country, they'll wind up covered too. But let's listen to what President Trump has to say, and I want to play a video that Barry Cunningham put out about the food stamp SNAP benefits, and I'm going to break down numbers on that also. So here we go.
Going to go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster. And I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own health care, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. And you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance, and you'll negotiate different plans, and you'll get much better insurance, and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself.
All right, you hear that? Straight from the horse's mouth. That's what he wants to do. He wants to basically leave it up to the person to be responsible, even though the government is will be helping by flipping the bill for them, sending them money every month. But he's leaving it up to the person to be responsible for it. Okay? More times than none. And a lot of people have to admit this, and even you people on the left, be honest. Okay? How many times, whether you have insurance or you don't have insurance, how many times do you really need to go to the hospital in a year in an emergency? I'm not talking about somebody that already has pre-existing conditions. I'm just saying in general. Okay? So if you're working at a job, or if you're collecting Medicaid, and you're a young person, or even a person, it depends. You don't necessarily have to be young. Okay, in my opinion, more young people get hurt more than older people. I mean, because they just do more stupid shit. But it's just that let's just say I'm sitting with a Medicaid card in my pocket, and I'm covered for Medicaid, okay, and I have that card in my pocket for 3 years, and I never get hurt, never end up in the hospital, never go to the emergency room, never have a toothache, never do anything. That money is from the government is being sent to Medicaid or to whatever company is in cahoots with Medicaid. Like, let's just say, I'm not saying they are, but I'm just going to pick one. Let's say Health First. Health First is a big health insurance company in New York. Okay, for years, all I ever heard everybody saying that they want, but like I said, Health First. They want Health First. I'm not saying that they're in cahoots or anything like that, but I'm just using them as an example. So if the government is sending them money every year to make sure that just in case so-and-so shows up, and so-and-so doesn't show up, let's say for 3 years, 4 years, and then that person decides to move out of state, you can't carry Health First with you. So all that money that the government has sent them, who knows how much per person, where does that money go? Whereas if you pay for your own health insurance, you take that with you. You find out which doctors are going to cover you if you want to move or anything like that, and you take that with you, just like your car insurance. And to me, that makes a lot of sense. Okay? Not having to worry about, you know what, we can't give you, if you go from New York to Florida, you're not going to get Medicaid benefits because the rules in Florida don't apply the same to an 18-year-old as it would in New York. So if you're in New York and you're 18 years old, you can probably get Medicaid. If you go to Florida, you're 18 years old, you might not get it, which means what? Which means now you have no Medicaid. And the whole Obamacare scandal was just that. I had a friend of mine who paid for 5 years in Orlando. Out of her paycheck, they were taken out for Obamacare. She never thought anything of it until her daughter ended up in the hospital, and not one freaking doctor or clinic would accept Obamacare. Not one. So she basically had to go and get a loan and pay for her daughter's medical coverage. Okay? And now, and this wasn't recent, this happened a few years ago, but then she contacts me and says, you know, is there any way that I can get that money back? And I was at a loss, because I was like, I don't know. I don't know if you can get that money back. How are you supposed to get that money back? If Obamacare was actually basically telling people that if you didn't have health insurance, when you did your taxes, you were going to be penalized $1,000 anyway. So it was nothing but a big damn money scam. And all these health insurance companies, like you heard what President Trump said, their stock prices went up because they were just collecting hundreds of millions, billions of dollars from the federal government, and they were just investing it and selling stock and making all this money. And the truth of the matter is, when Obama said, you like your doctor, you keep your doctor, whatever, that was all bullshit. Straight up. Okay? And what the Democrats would want to do, and what they're going to keep doing, as they always have, is that they're going to wind up putting illegal immigrants on those benefits. Especially when it comes to food stamps. And the left and everybody, the only argument is, no, you're wrong, they cannot collect food stamps. Well, I got some information that we can go over, but first I want to play that video that Barry Cunningham put out. Here we go. Now first I want to give a shout out to Barry Cunningham for putting this video out. I mean, it was so informative. I'm not going to play the whole thing because there's also some information that I want to show you that I looked up on my own. But in the beginning of his video, pay close attention. There's a woman on the phone. She's being recorded. Okay, let me rewind this a little bit, if I can. Yeah. Can I? Yeah. And listen closely. She is calling up for her EBT benefits. This right here is going to blow your mind. Pay attention.
Thank you for calling the Jersey EBT customer service. For English, press 1. Para español, for EBT, press 1. Did you the last 4 digits of your number? Figure your pin. Your staff balance is $23,235.
Now listen. I don't know if that's true or not, but when I heard this, it blew my mind, and I'll tell you why. Because it can be true. Last year sometime, a little longer than that, when I was putting out some videos of when a lot of people were putting out on TikTok and stuff like that of food stamp receipts that they were cashiers were keeping from the supermarkets. Whenever they would see an illegal immigrant come and do grocery shopping, and they would leave their receipts behind, they would look at the receipts, especially if it was EBT, because it leaves a breakdown of how much you have. And there was cashiers showing the amounts, 9,000, 11,000. Matter of fact, I think it was some of the spots were in Chicago, 13,000, 12,000. And it makes you wonder, it's like, if this is true, how in the hell does a system not look at a person's file and say, wait a minute, how does this person have so much on their EBT food stamp card? Me personally, I thought that when you got food stamps, you got it once a month. Okay? And even at once a month, let's just say this video is true, and this person got 1,000 a month and never used it. That means that person has been holding on to food stamps for nearly 2 years. Okay? And if that is the case, how come How come the food stamp office is not looking at this and say, wait a minute, if we're giving this person food stamps and it is building up, why aren't they using it? Where are they getting the money to buy food? I mean, it's just scandalous. But we'll let Barry Cunningham talk some more, okay? Like I said, shout out to him. Go to his channel, show him some love. There's a lot that he has to talk about, so I'm gonna put my 2 cents into it. But I also, like I said, I want to show some information that I looked up, okay, that I Googled, because, you know, I mean, you gotta trust the technology, you gotta trust the science and all that, like the left says, and they're not gonna like what I have to say. But here we go.
$23,000 is her SNAP balance, her food stamp balance. I don't know how that's even possible. I don't know how you can accumulate $23,000 of other people's money in your SNAP food stamps account.
By not using it, by probably having a job and just not using it, plain and simple.
If we don't see anything else, that's the one video that you need to see and go, this is wrong. This has got to stop. We got to pull the Band-Aid off. We're done with this.
Pretty much. You know, and this is what the Democrats are afraid of. They're afraid of. They're afraid that, you know what, they're going to lose their voter base, because once President Trump stops sending all this money, all the healthcare money and all the food stamp money and to all these states, and the states cannot take it and allocate it to different illegal immigrants, they're going to lose their voter base. People will start packing up and leaving. Okay? I mean, it's people think that Trump is trying to be heartless, and I don't see him making these changes being heartless. Sometimes in order for you to weed things out, you have to take drastic measures. Okay? There is no reason why, and I've been saying this for the longest, there is no reason why anyone should be coming to this country and right away think that they're going to get all kinds of what do you call it, like benefits and services and aid, just because they're here, you know, they come here legally, they're seeking asylum, and if you don't give it to them, you're racist. But if you do give it to them, that they feel they have the right to stay on it for as long as they want. It just makes no sense. I'm going to fast forward a little bit to Laura Ingraham so she can, where is it, right here, about the food stamp fraud that's going on.
Help shine a spotlight on the explosion of the number of people on food stamps, or as we call them now, SNAP benefits. The abuses, the fraud, it's estimated to be $12 billion. Seattle police just broke up a food stamp fraud ring, busting 18 people. They say were buying and selling EBT cards. That's become all the rage. Some even trading them for drugs, food stamps for fentanyl. Lovely. Yeah. And earlier this year, 6 people were charged in a scheme that totaled $66 million for food stamp bribery, one of the largest in U.S. history. And I asked President Trump about this ongoing problem. Can we reform SNAP, these benefits, so they're used for the people who really need them?
It's meant for people. And you know what it does is it really puts the country in jeopardy. People that need it have to get it. I'm all for it. But people that are able-bodied can do a job. They leave their job because they figure they can pick this up. It's easier. That's not the purpose of it.
Here to discuss, Agriculture Secretary.
Before we get to Brooke.
Yeah, the woman that he's talking about, Brooke, she's going to explain a lot more that's going on. But it's true. You know, the Democrats always say, oh, it's not that easy. Everything is not that easy. It is easy if you put your foot down and say, this is what we're going to do. Forget about getting a congressional vote or whatever the case is. You know there's a problem. You know there's billions of dollars missing. You know there's a lot of people that are abusing the system. Stop pussyfooting and saying that, oh, it's not that easy. It is that easy. Okay? You are the higher echelons in the government. If you are the president, you put your foot down and say, you know what? Since I'm the one that has to sign all the checks, I want to know where the hell all this money is going. And you put your foot down, you put the right people in place, and you send them to go investigate. And it's just so funny that when it comes to the illegal immigration situation, when it comes to the healthcare benefits situation and the SNAP benefit situation, I find it so ironic that for 4 years, Joe Biden kept making excuses. The Democrats kept making excuses for 4 years of what they could and what they couldn't do. And yet, President Trump is in for what, 10 months, 9.5, 10 months? And you would think that he was already in for 2 or 3 years and they've been investigating this and now they're making breakthroughs. No. It's because they know the power that they have, and they said, this is not about us passing the buck and letting somebody do the job. This is what we want to do. This is what's going to get done. Everybody get the hell out of the way. And you know what? And in my opinion, even though he's doing a lot, I believe that there's a lot more that he can do, and I believe that he's going to do it.
Just imagine, this has been going on for literally decades. And obviously it ramped up under the Biden administration. And for a country that is broke and $1 trillion in debt, it's just another brick in the wall on top of everything else. The USAID, the NPR, the PBS, the squirrels running around and shrimps on treadmills. All the craziness that these people have taken from you. And now we're finding out this thing is billions and billions and billions of fraud, dollars of fraud have taken place during the entire debacle of food stamps, all the way back from the day when you used to have to count them out because there was a stigma. There was supposed to be a stigma. Hey, listen, all right, now go ahead and get a job so you don't have to keep doing that. Exactly. And then they went to a swipey card where you just looked like you had an ATM card. Mm-hmm. And everything the Democrats have done have been to shield these people. And when I say these people, I'm not talking about the people who really need it. They're shielding the crooks. They're shielding the money laundering. They're shielding the drug buying. It is its own cottage industry that you and me are paying for. You know, boomers.
And that's their plan. It's all about the money laundering. Just like they threw a fit about USAID. Have they been talking about it lately? No. Why? Because they know they're busted on that. So now they're getting busted on the healthcare, the health insurance thing and the food stamp thing. And now they're bitching and moaning about that. It's because they're taking away your cash cow. Okay, these Democrats know for a fact how easy it is to put the right people in place and go and say, listen, go look for fraud. But at the same time, this is what they're also doing. They're collecting money from the government, okay, from the taxpayers, and putting it into programs to go seek out fraud. So they're getting more money on the side. So it's like, so you're getting money on the side to seek out fraud for food stamps. Meanwhile, the fraud is still going on in the billions. I'm telling you, they are seething because their cash cow is getting busted day after day. Okay, I'm gonna speed this up, like I said, some more, so you can hear the woman that's talking on the Laura Ingraham. Yeah, right here. Here we go.
We know the administration is trying to bust a lot of these groups involved in this abuse. But how do we stop this before it starts so they can't even get as far as they get in these schemes? It's overwhelming.
It's pretty remarkable. And let me level set us for just a minute. It's so great to be on and talk about this. And it's funny. I think, well, funny is probably not the right word, but I do think what the Democrats did not include in their calculation in their insane government shutdown was the fact that this spotlight was going to be shined upon one of their favorite government welfare programs that under Joe Biden increased 40%. Where all that money went, trying to buy elections.
Okay, now I'm going to answer this. Barry Cunningham's going to put his own 2 cents into it. If you want to see the whole video, go on his channel. Matter of fact, I'm gonna leave a link in the description if I can, so you guys can watch the whole thing in its entirety. But I'm gonna put my 2 cents into this because when I heard this, it blew my mind because I'm like, wait a minute. If this is true, okay, then on the Biden food stamps and all that went up 40%. Then that kills the whole Democrats party, all you leftist content creators, everybody out there who's saying that this kills your whole narrative that under Joe Biden the economy was doing way better. It was the best economy you guys ever had. It just blows your whole narrative out the water. Okay? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't say that the economy was doing great under Joe Biden, but yet the applications for food stamp and SNAP benefits went up 40%. And you definitely can't get away with the fact of saying, well, that was because under Donald Trump's presidency before Biden, a lot of people wind up losing their jobs. No. Because Biden said himself that they added millions of jobs to the economy. So do you see what I'm saying? And I've said it before. I haven't said it in a while. Do you see the way the Democrats eat themselves? They contradict themselves, and sooner or later, things start coming out little by little that it destroys their whole narrative. It just takes away all their credibility. Okay? I mean, it is. When I heard this, I had to laugh about it. I was like, but wait a minute. I thought the economy was doing great under Joe Biden. Why did applications for SNAP benefits go up 40%? That was because it's all a damn lie. That's why.
Stop. Over the 4 years that Biden was president, the amount of people getting SNAP benefits increased 40%. That's almost half. 40% more people all of a sudden couldn't eat. Had no way of feeding themselves. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, many of those were the newcomers that they put on food stamps, but you can bet a lot of other people found out about the scam and said, yeah. I don't got to work. No. Are they going to give me money? Yeah.
Exactly. And that's exactly what a lot of people were doing. They were just sucking off that teat on that train. Let me fast forward just a little more, not to that section. There's another right about here.
The blue states were still trying to get data on. Can you imagine if this...
Sorry, let me go back. Okay, what they're talking about is that President Trump's administration went, she'll say it, I believe it was back in February, asking all the states to give them their EBT data sheets of everybody that's on food stamps. Okay, 29 states complied. Out of those 29 states, a couple of them were blue. But the majority that said no are all blue states. It's insane, and it makes you wonder why.
Because they're getting significant benefits from the taxpayer. So this light, Laura, that has now been shined on what is perhaps one of the most corrupt, dysfunctional programs in American history that we are working now. Very big announcements coming next week on this. We are cracking down. We now have a plan to fix it. And we're really, really excited about doing that for the American people.
So this has been going...
And again, I swear sometimes, I'm like, Laura, did she just give you a hint? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show you what the plan she is in a second here, but I'm surprised Laura she just dropped a hint. Oh, we got something coming next week for you. You want to know, Laura? Well, let me go on to my next week.
Yeah, it's staggering and so discouraging. You know, if you're a taxpayer and you're working hard every day and you're paying your taxes, and then you look and you see these stories of this fraud of people charging more than once. We found one guy in 6 states who was collecting in 6 different states under the same number. But
how? That's a criminal enterprise. That's a RICO charge. Yeah. How are you collecting? I know. Because it goes through different cards, and I guess you go to a mail drop. So you're walking around with 6 EBT cards? Wow. What a scam.
Again, if we hadn't asked for this data, and by the way, Laura, these are the red states that turn their data over. It is the blue states we're still trying to get data on. Can you imagine if this fraud is happening in the red states, what's happening in the blue states?
What are they hiding?
I think they're buying their votes. They're trying to push as much of our taxpayer dollars into certain segments of the society in order to say, hey, we're here to help you. We're going to give you a lot of free stuff.
Dependency.
So vote for us. And it's dependency.
And it's not only dependency, it's mainly mainly for their voter base and to change, in my opinion, the demographics. Now, I'm going to leave it here because I want to show you the data that I looked up. Okay, like I said, if you want to watch the whole video in its entirety, I'll leave a link in the description. And for sake of time, I'm going to minimize this. And I started doing a little bit of research here. Okay. And I mean, this is all basic, people. Like I said, you just go on Google, you go on whatever AI platform, whatever it is, and it'll spit out facts, because that's the way Google programs it. Okay, so I just asked it some simple questions. Let me go all the way up to the beginning. Okay, and here we go right here. Let me go just a little more. Bear with me, people. I mean, this is gonna blow your mind. Okay. Which one? A little more. Sorry, bear with me. I was doing this while I was trying to put it together. It says, I asked which states complied and didn't comply with giving President Trump, okay, or his administration, the food stamp database. What they needed. Okay, and it says the states that did not comply. Okay, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Hawaii, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Vermont, Virginia, Washington, and Washington, D.C. As far as the states that did comply, there's 29, straight from Alabama, Arkansas, Alaska. It goes down, Florida, Kentucky. You guys can figure it out, all the way down to Wyoming, okay? So then I was like, okay, excuse me. I asked it another question. I said, and out of the states that did and didn't, which are the red and which are the blue? And he wound up saying it again. To say, here's the partisan breakdown of the SNAP compliance split based on the state's general political lean, using their most presidential voting, whatever the case is. All the red states, okay, shows it again, leaning Republican, and then all the blue states, leaning Democrat. Again, you get the gist of it, right? So I said, you know what? I need a little more. So I asked it another question. I said, and out of all those states, how many people are on SNAP in the red and the blue states? Here's the breakdown. In all the blue states, there are 24.5 million people on food stamp assistance. Okay? Now, mind you, there are 29 red states that are complying. Out of the 29 red states, there's only 17.5 million people on food stamps. Okay? So out of the smaller number of blue states, they have nearly 8 million more people on food stamps. So much for the blue states doing good. So, going further down, okay, where am I? Going further down, I had asked it. Okay, I was like, you know what? Let me look up some more information. And I said, give me a side-by-side comparison. It gave me this right here. I couldn't quite understand it. So I had to just skip that because it talked about policy trends and stuff like that. I didn't really want that information. But I said, I had to get slick with it. And I'll show you right now. And this right here is going to blow your mind. And I want people to pay attention. And you tell me if they're not trying to buy. And this is where this goes back to the narrative of us, of me talking about why this whole push to bring in Muslims into this country is no good. Okay? I said in the red and blue states, how many illegals are there? Okay? The quick answer, about 13 to 14 million, roughly 9 to 10 million live in blue Democrat-leaning states, while 3.4 million live in red states, Republican-leaning states. Check that out. Okay? The blue states that did not comply with Trump's SNAP request, out of all the states, 2.5 million in California, 1.1 million in New York. But as I'm looking at the list, Michigan and Minnesota, Michigan has supposedly 125,000 and Minnesota 100,000. Okay? And then it shows how many are on SNAP benefits in the red states. So I went a little further. And I said, okay, let me just deal with one thing. So I wanted to ask it about Dearborn, Michigan. Because Dearborn, Michigan, being that it's overrun by Islamists, I was like, I wonder how many illegals are there and how many of them are collecting benefits. Okay? And check this out. It says, where am I? Sorry. It says, Dearborn, Michigan is located in Wayne County, which has the highest SNAP participation rate in the state. About 24.7 of the residents, that translates to roughly 220,000 to 230,000 people in Wayne County receive SNAP benefits, with Dearborn itself accounting for a significant share given its population of 110,000. Figure out the math on that. Wayne County SNAP participants, 24.7% of its residents are enrolled in SNAP food stamps. Wayne County population is 890,000 household, 950,000 residents. Estimated SNAP recipients, 220,000 to 230,000. Dearborn population, 110,000. Estimated Dearborn SNAP recipients applying. Now, it's only 110,000 people in Dearborn, Michigan, but 27,000 of them are likely to receive SNAP benefits. Okay? Nearly 1 in 4 people in Dearborn, Michigan collect SNAP. And I'm looking at this like, are you kidding me? So then it wind up putting out Michigan's immigration snapshot. Total immigrants in Michigan, 750,000, 8% of the state population. Undocumented immigrants, 273,000 statewide. Wayne County, Detroit, and Dearborn has the largest concentration of immigrants in Michigan. Roughly 1 in 10 residents is foreign born. 110,000 residents in Michigan, estimated 10 to 15% undocumented within the immigrant population. So it says, direct answer, Dearborn and the surrounding Wayne County area are home to a significant immigration population, but the best available estimates suggest Michigan has about 273,000 undocumented immigrants statewide. Of those, tens of thousands live in Wayne County, Detroit, and Dearborn. Though exact city level counts are not published, Dearborn itself, with a population again of 110,000 and a large foreign-born community, likely has 10 to 15,000 undocumented residents based on a demographic modeling. But yet in Dearborn, Michigan, where they have a very large Muslim population, they have a very large SNAP enrollment, collecting benefits. So how much does anybody want to bet that Democrats will look at this information and say, no, it's not that many. It's none, actually, because that's what they keep saying. Illegals can't get benefits. But if you have a spot, and I only chose Dearborn, Michigan, I'm not choosing California because, they have a larger population. There's a lot more people on it. But when you know for a fact that Dearborn, Michigan has tens of thousands of Muslims, okay, and they have a large number of people collecting food stamps, what does that tell you? That tells you that we have people coming here, they're sucking off Lady Liberty's teat, okay, off of our dime. The Democrats know it. That's why they keep flooding all the blue states with all these illegals. And if you look at it, people applying for SNAP benefits under Biden has went up 40%. And if you look at the demographic of all the blue states, of all the states combined, okay, that are collecting SNAP benefits, even though out of the red states there's 29, out of the blue states I think they said there's 21 or something like that. They get more. There's more SNAP benefit recipients, 24.5 million. Whereas in all these blue states who voted for Biden and Kamala, they're the ones saying, no, the economy was doing great under Joe Biden. So if the economy was doing so damn great under Joe Biden, then why are there so many people on food stamps? Now, some people may say, well, there's a lot of fraud. But if you ask me, it's all fraud. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people that need it in the blue states. Obviously, there is. But when 24.5 million people, okay, that's nearly the whole population of California itself. As a matter of fact, in California, there's 5.5 million people on food stamps. And if you look at a lot of these documentaries where you go down Skid Row or under what is it, those tunnels that the people living in California, okay, the homeless people, I've seen many of documentaries, and one of the things that the people that are making the documentaries are asking them, like, what do they do, to get by for food and stuff? And 9 out of 10 times, if not all of them, always say the same thing. I have food stamps. I have food stamps. I get food stamps. So you can't help out the homeless, okay, but you're going to give them food stamps. Okay. But then your SNAP benefits in the blue states went up, or in America went up 40%, mostly in the blue states. So who else is getting more food stamps? It can't be the people that are working, and if it is, it's fraud. And if it isn't, then it's got to be the illegals, which makes it fraud again. You see what I'm saying? So now what President Trump wants to do, and the Democrats are totally pissed about this, and there's going to be another protest coming, people. I'm telling you right now, I'm calling it. Not that I want it, but I'm calling it. President Trump's, and I'll end the video, President Trump's new plan is that if you collect food stamps, they're going to make every American with ID that's on it to go back in person and sign up for it again. In other words, enroll again. You're basically renewing your benefits. And if you ask me, that's a smart move. I know there's going to be a lot of people that are disabled that won't be able to do it. I'm sure they're going to put things into play in order to combat that, to help people. But for the most part, if you're able to get up and walk, they're going to have people go back into the offices with their ID to prove they're American, and then they're going to let them basically renew for their food stamp benefits. And this is going to piss off plenty of people in the blue states. I'm telling you right now, people will protest over this. And the Democrats will protest over this. Okay? First they'll say that it's racist, then they'll say that not everybody's going to be able to do it because all of a sudden, once again, Americans don't have ID. It's hard for them to get ID. But what they're doing is they're trying to hide the fact that illegal immigrants have been living off of taxpayer money benefits, like in Dearborn, Michigan, in Minnesota, and in a lot of these immigrant communities, especially, in my opinion, the Muslim community. And it's got to stop. And if you ask me, this is one of the ways that President Trump is going to weed out for more people, more illegals, to leave America. Okay? As a matter of fact, in that video that I played with Barry Cunningham, I believe that the lady that was talking, I believe she said it. It might have been another video where, no, actually I'm wrong. But in Europe, okay, where Muslims are allowed, they're saying that they can have 2 or 3 wives, and then each wife is having like 3 or 4 kids. They're giving them benefits for every wife and child, and they are making out like bandits. And how much do you want to bet that's probably the same thing that's going on behind closed doors in places like Minnesota and Dearborn, Michigan? I guarantee you, because they live under their rules. But I guarantee you that these people are not working. They're here illegally, and since the government goes and gives these blue states money and say, okay, you split the money up, they're basically paying for all these illegals to stay there so they can have the voter block. And how are they paying them? With health care, with food stamps, like Bernie Sanders says, universal health care for all, including immigrants. Nope, not anymore. There's a new sheriff in town. Americans have to be taken care of first. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. But anyway, that's what I got for you. Don't forget to comment, like, share, subscribe, pass the channel around. And if you can help support the channel, there's a link in my description to my Cash App and my merch store. So remember, people, stay vigilant. Keep praying for each other. Keep praying for the women and the children. Pray for this country. Pray for your enemies. Pray for President Trump. And don't forget to pray for all the missing children that they brought across the border. Peace.